Welcome to Good for the Game, Thursday night, 9 o'clock. It's Gavin Oracle over here, and we've got Guy Stoneman on the right-hand side waiting for Hein. He's also going to join us. But no Brent Graham tonight. He phoned me in an absolute panic last week saying that, in fact, he phoned me 2 weeks ago and he wasn't going to be able to do the show. And I actually thought he was talking about last week, found out he was going to Sun City, so I don't know what he was doing there. I know he was obviously doing a bit of punting. I don't think he was playing golf or anything like that. But anyway, didn't put me on the show, and I found out it was actually this week and not last week. Right, so I see the comments. Well, I'm ready to go with this. I'm pretty familiar with StreamYard, so I will be able to put comments on the screen. But in the meantime, I will there's Hein, so we'll chuck him in. Right, there we go. How's it, Hein?
How's it, boys? Sorry, just jumping from another show.
No, that's all right. I recognise that dodgy brick wall behind you from previous shows, and just right. So let's stick some comments on, put them on the screen. There we go. First one, noticing I'm back. Sean Nicholas phoned me earlier today and said I hadn't been involved in 6 months. It hasn't been quite 6 months. I did have the odd bet in December, and I know I had a few horses in January. It didn't go very well for me, so I decided to take a few days off, which turned into a few weeks, and here we are. So I'm glad South African Rugby is back. I'm pretty sure you guys enjoyed last week's games, and well, let's start off with that. So I'll start off with Stoneman, first time on the show. What did you get from those few South African fixtures? So we won't talk about this week's betting yet. We'll get to that later on. But what did you get from watching the games last week?
Well, Gav, I was working obviously on Saturday. We were quite busy, so I just saw the bit of the game fleetingly. And I was chatting to Stig prior to the game. I said, do we get involved? First game back, I was a little bit nervous. And then when I watched the game again, obviously fleetingly at the shop while it was busy, I watched it. And the Sharks were absolutely nowhere for the first 15, 17 minutes of the game. They couldn't get their hands on the ball. And then I turned around, I came back, and obviously the card scenario changed the game a hell of a lot. But I watched the game again a couple of times. I watched the replays of the game. And there was a lot of positives to take out if you're a Sharks fan. I think the Stormers must be really kicking their butts for letting that game slip. And you see at the end, they could have actually got it at the gap. I mean, at the death. So you could take a lot of things out of that game both ways from a rugby point of view and from a punting point of view, I think. The Stormers and the Bulls game, I also only watched that on replays. So I wasn't wound up in the motion of having a bet on the game either. And also take a lot from that game. I think that Lions team, they hung on. And then I think that powerful bench, when they came back with the Bulls and Morne and them started to control the game, the Bulls sort of looked like they were always never going to lose the game, but they only sort of sealed it at the end. So, also first game's out for the guys. So it's I think you can take a lot of that. I'll mention that later in the games for the weekend. But, I wasn't going to bet last weekend. And myself and my partner, we didn't have any bets. And we probably would have won one, lost one. Yeah.
Sorry, I was just trying to put the picture on the screen, learning a little bit more about this because Brent's got a professional version, trying to show you a picture of Morne Stania in the background. I think you can see his head at the top. All right, so Han, what did you get out of those two games?
Gav, just firstly, I was a little bit late there, so I didn't get to say how's it before the show. And I just remember Cole Hurter in the umpiring always said just before he went out, he said, just remember one thing. And that's don't fuck it up. So that's it. That's the pep talk from my side, Gav. So no stress there. Listen, in terms of the betting, I didn't have a punt in the first weekend of Rainbow, as you guys said there. It was just a case of watch and see. I wasn't impressed by the Bulls and the Lions game. I thought the Bulls started well, and it looked like this was a different class playing against a rubbish side. I didn't like the look of the Lions team. They've got a heck of a lot of youngsters playing at the moment. But I thought they fought back well. I thought the Bulls just took their foot off, and it was controlled by the Lions. And they looked pretty good for probably the majority of that game until the last 20 when Morne just showed, he's a bit of a different level at that level. So he just controlled it. I mean, that cross kick at the end was something of beauty, and yeah, I got the job done, but I wasn't overly impressed by the Bulls, and that was actually a plucky performance from the Lions, who, as I said, on paper to me are definitely a level below the others.
Yeah, I agree. And in fact, I was hoping one of you would say something about the cards, and I know Stoneman did right at the beginning. But you know, Han, I've been shouting this red card system home since 2017, and you know, we'll never forget that Sharks Rebels game when it was 9-9. It was absolutely, you know, horrible to watch. Didn't matter, you know. Yes, if you won the plus, you were probably enjoying the fact that you were going to win. But from a rugby spectacle, it was absolute rubbish. And, you know, the Varsity Cup trialled it out. I know they did try this out in a couple of other leagues across the world, but my gosh, I'm so happy. So there's three things that come out of it for me. And I know I dropped a thing on the WhatsApp group the other day, but for me, the first thing is it does not kill the game anymore. The game was not dead. There's none of this 15 versus 14 rubbish anymore. Yes, it's for 20 minutes, but it's not for 63 minutes or 48 minutes or 39 minutes or whatever the number is. So the 15 versus 14 is gone. So what we're seeing now is a 23 versus 22. And in fact, as it happens at the Stormers game, it was a 23 versus 21. So it's very interesting to see how people manage, or how teams manage their benches going forward. Because if you lose that player, it's what do you do? You know, how do you manage that? How do you know, guys that you're going to stick on at 55 or 62 minutes, do you bring them on a little bit earlier? Do you hold on to it a little bit longer? You know, so it's going to be very interesting to see how that goes. The second thing is, that's actually the second thing, was the 22 versus 23. The third thing, and I think this is probably the most important from a betting perspective as well, it's going to influence the red card yes or no betting. And I think referees are going to hand out red cards a lot easier now than they used to, because they're not going to feel the guilt. They're not going to feel the backlash from the crowd or the media saying, oh, you shouldn't have given a red card because you killed the game. We've taken the killing the game out of it. You know, now the guy's going, well, that probably is a red card. I would have given it 5 years ago, but I would have got into trouble for it, so I'm going to give it out now. So I think we're going to see a few more red cards than we used to, and at least the game's not going to be impacted, and teams are going to have to learn to play without the full bench.
Yeah,
Kevin, I'm in agreement there, but probably a little bit selfish reason, not even on the punting front. But I'll never forget flying up in 2017 when was the Lions final against the Crusaders, and that Quagga red card after like 20, and I mean it was game over from there. It's like you're sitting there for an hour knowing what the result was.
Yeah, the game was done.
Yeah, I know exactly, and yeah, sorry, Stone, you carry on.
No, just saying exactly the same thing in that game. We had a decent bet there on the Lions, and the game was finished. It was done. Yeah.
They're saying, Stone, that you need to put your microphone up. I don't know where I saw that, but somebody said something. I don't know if you're able to switch your volume up on your computer, but they're saying they can barely hear you. I don't know if they want to hear you. There it is. Someone else. He's called someone else. Must be one of your mates. All right, let's get going. So we'll start up.
Turn it up there.
All right, so the first up we're going to talk about is the Crusaders versus the Chiefs. I'm going to tell you, I haven't watched much of this rugby. I've never been a Crusader fan, because what's always happened with me in the past is their minus has always been priced up too much. I've found myself losing because I've taken a plus and going against the Crusaders and the All Blacks for that matter. So I'm a bad example of who to ask here about this particular game. But, you know, they're up against the Chiefs, and, yeah, I don't know. What do you think, Han? I'll listen to you guys, and you'll probably sway me one way or another, and we'll go from there.
Kevin, I kept going to the well of the Crusaders. You know, they're usually one of those that I just keep backing. It's throw them into multis and that kind of thing, and they hurt me 3 weeks in a row. I mean, who would have thunk at the Crusaders losing 3 matches, 3-match losing streak? It's unfathomable. It was chaos for me there, and obviously last week I just went big. I was like back at Christchurch. There's just no ways it's going to be 4. This time they're going to get the job done. So I think finally there was a little bit of a respect to the visitors there. So that was good from a punting perspective. But yeah, maybe it's gone out the door a little bit. To me, it's I know Brent is obviously keen in finals. He says don't stare, blankly to the fact that it's going to be a tight battle just because it's a final. Often when a team loses interest, it can blow out and all that. But to me, it's a tough cap. I just don't believe it's a good business backing against the Crusaders on a handicap, because it can just blow out. So I'm not going to go that way. But at the same time, this is not the Crusaders of old. This is it's a changed outfit. The loose trio is completely, it's not as dynamic as it was before. So there's a lot of changes on the bench. I mean, they haven't got Moody in there anymore on the starting lineup or the bench. So it's much weaker in terms of the front row and the pack, especially the bench depth. So to me, it's the Crusaders still edging it in terms of home advantage and probably in personnel. But I think the Chiefs are going to be hell keen. They did well last week with a B team. They're a team in form. So, make no mistake about it. This one is going to be close. So I'm just going for a few exotics, which maybe I'll share after Stoneman has had his dig.
Just one thing before Stoneman gets involved, and I've only just had a quick look in the last half an hour, but the Chiefs have been a second half team. In the last 6 or 7 games, they've scored more points in the second half than the first half. And I'm definitely like Brent. I'm not a halftime handicap guy, but it looks like the kind of thing that and again, I haven't been watching this. So I'm a very bad judge of this particular fixture. But yeah, I mean, if teams are performing far better than they are in the first half, in the second half, then maybe it's time to jump on when they get into a bit of trouble. But as you said, it's a final. I don't believe in that teams just want to win. I know they just want to win, but when the tries come, they'll take them, and when the points come, they'll take them. It's just, I like the Crusaders to win, but at -10 or -9 for that matter, it just feels a little bit big. I hate those double-digit minuses. I don't care who's playing. I just don't like them. So for me, I'd either not have a bet or probably back the Chiefs after the Crusaders have got an early lead. Your turn, Stoney.
All right, Gab, let me tell you something here. I'm the opposite to you. I've been a Crusaders fan for years and years and years.
I know, and you're a big minus fan, in fact.
Yeah, I am a minus fan, but in finals, I stay away from minuses. The Crusaders' home record in finals is just, you just can't beat it, and always, sometimes people say they're going to wait for it to be beaten. If you look at the head-to-head since 2013, Chiefs and Crusaders have played each other 17 times. The Crusaders have won 10, Chiefs have won 7. But a lot of that was been in Super Rugby away from home stories.
And about 4 of them have been in Fiji.
Yeah, well there we go. So, like Hans said, those Crusaders lost their way early on, or not in the middle of the season. They looked the business to me against the Blues, who I call the coconuts. You can never bet with any confidence, and I thought the Blues were going to be sort of runners up the season, but they have played well in spurts. And the Crusaders, I know that Braden Ennell's back, the centre, to get a bit of stability on the bench. He was an injury. There's no other changes from their team from last week. They are a well-drilled team. They at home. They coached well. I don't see the Chiefs getting within 7 or 8 points of them. I'm not going to climb into the -8.5. I would also, it's a final. I'll take the Crusaders outright in a whole lot of multiples, and then maybe take the Chiefs on a plus with something else. That's all I'll be doing in this game. Okay,
so that's a good point that you brought up there. So for the guys that are taking multiples, and I know Brent sort of doesn't really talk about this much on his show, and obviously going to throw in a bit of a spanner here and something to talk about, and hopefully Brent continues it on when he comes back next week. But, there's a lot of guys watching and will watch the show later. They want to know what's their banker for the week. So is Crusaders at home just to get on the board? Is that a banker? Can you stick that in every multiple you take this weekend?
I'm not answering this first, Hein can.
It's the worst thing, I try and put a banker in a Friday game if I can, so I know whether my weekend is buggered or not. So luckily, still Saturday morning, maybe it's okay. To me, it is. I'm going with Stoneman. It's just it's probably, we're not used to it, and there is going to be a first, and there is going to be a time that it ends. But in my lifetime, my knowledge of rugby, it's been dominated by the Crusaders, and they're at home in Christchurch. It's a final. It's almost like, me, Gav, I love looking at team sheets, and it's all about the players. But with the Crusaders, it's about the ethos. It's like a guy can come in there from grade 8 and he can play, and he just slots into that same rhythm. and he just believes that they can't lose there. It's magic. So I'm not gonna go against the voodoo there. It's Crusaders at home. I think if it's usually my rules, I don't go less than 3-10. So if it's less than that, then usually I'll just go for lesser minus. I don't like throwing like a 2-10, you know, or 1.2 into multis. But yeah, from 3-10, if you can get that, then throw it into a few multis. I mean, I'll tell you guys my best bet. Let's just say it now. It's going to be the Reds and the Crusaders both to get the job done. At 9-10 is my best bet of the weekend. So yeah, that's what I do. I like doubles, so that's my play.
Okay, yeah, good enough. And yeah, as Dino said, Leinster's a banker last week, and David's saying, I'm going to put it up again. Bankers make you sweat the most, and he's probably right.
That banker made us vomit last week.
All right, so just to clarify there, we saying Crusaders should win here. We're not sure about the minus, but don't take the plus. Crusaders will win on the board. In agreement?
I'm in agreement.
And then, Gavin, can I just go to the exotics there? I know you love my try scorers, and I've decided I'm going to throw you a stat there as well. You know, I've been taking a lot of flack for the past, I think, 5 years. It's probably the same frequency as the World Cup almost, where I call my hookers. And just to tell you, the leading try scorer in New Zealand, it's a hooker, and the leading try scorer in Australia is a hooker. So if you've been backing the hookers, you've been it's been good business, so I'm not going to leave it this week. It's Cody Taylor to score a try anytime. You can get onto that. It's I think 15-10 there. He's been in phenomenal try scoring form, and Brody McAllister, the replacement hooker, to score the last one as well. The Crusaders to seal the game with a rolling thunder at the end. So those are the two exotic plays from me.
Yeah, and I've actually seen these what do they call them? Same match bet builder, and it's generally a soccer thing, and I've seen on the bookmaker sites, and you can put in there whether there'll be a penalty scored or how many corners they're going to be, and you know what time the goal will be, and you can sort of build your own bet with having 6 or 7 things happen in the game. They don't come up with that in rugby. I haven't seen it in rugby, should I say. And Han, I tell you, if you could get somebody like Cody Taylor to score the first try, onto a couple of other things during the game, onto a rolling maul at the end of the game to seal the game from behind. I mean, that would be unbelievable. So if the bookmakers are listening, they got to come up with something like that, because that is to take Brendan. I'm going to put Brendan up twice. Classic, and from our mates Paris, he's using Paris's little saying here. Put, so get on. That just means just get on.
Put,
right.
Get on.
Get on, correct. Right, next game, Reds and Brumbies. So you said you were going for the Reds. We'll start with you, Han. What do you like about them? Again, I can't say much because I honestly haven't watched much of this rugby.
Yeah, they gave me a fright. I think it's almost a month ago now when they played the Brumbies. I was pretty big on them to beat the Brumbies, and the Brumbies came out like a house on fire, or like wild horses running free, and it was dangerous, but they clawed their way back and won the game. And to me, it's just, I don't know what happened last week. I think they just they weren't there mentally, so I'd scrap that result. You know, it's one you can just look past and focus on the fact the Brumbies are a great team on paper. On the park, they're just not nowhere near as good. So the Reds, to me, they've got all their bases covered, proper pack of forwards. James O'Connor, you know, he might not be the world's best fly-off, but he's miles and away the best fly-off in Australia. So he's got the thing on a string pretty much, especially his attacking game. Picked him for top point scorer in the comp, so we really need the Reds just to get off 0 there for that to win. So it's looking good. It's the Reds.
What price did you get on him? What price did you get on him?
I think it was 5.5 or something. Or 6, something like that. But it's going to be good to have a payday at the end of that match. I just kind of wanted to end either way, but it's probably still a game to go for the Reds. Yeah, as I said, I just don't have confidence in the Brumbies. They're not the same team they were a couple of seasons ago, or the last 2 seasons. And to me, it's the Reds want to lose this. I mean, Taniela Tupou is in devastating form. Can you believe you say that from a tight head prop? He's Gavin, you'd love this. I think he's got something like 5 tries this season. So it's fantastic. It's all systems go for the Reds, and get on them. Maybe a half-time, full-time double is some way you can go get closer to even money on them.
You're not worried about the fact that the Reds needed an absolute last minute, well, not last minute, a couple of minutes to go penalty to beat the Brumbies the last time?
Yeah, as I said, that was a blip on the radar. Don't worry about that. They'll get the job done this week. It's as I said, I think the Brumbies are going to be a little bit deflated about what's happened this season. The Reds lost their last game, otherwise they would have gone undefeated. Whilst the Brumbies lost a couple of games. So to me, I think the Reds are pretty safe in this one. You don't want to go that way and say those words, but to me, it's definitely the way to go. You shouldn't be opposing the Reds. Let's just say it that way this weekend.
Okay, Stone Man.
All right,
Reds, Brumbies.
I'm all Reds, but believe it or not, at the beginning of the season, we backed Reds to win. So I've already got money to come here. So. Yeah, my whole thing, I always take some back there. I might have a little bit of a nibble on the Brumbies, but I can't see it. I like the way the Reds are being coached. Close to home there, that Luke Wright kid, he's actually related to a very good customer of ours that comes to the shop. They immigrated when he was a youngster. He's really come on as a captain of that team. They well coached, they well drilled. Like Heinz says, these Brumbies aren't the team that they used to be, and no team can go through the whole season. I mean, there was a couple of games when the Reds were flying and then they let some tries in softly. So you can't dissect the whole season. They deserve it favourites. And I think they're going to win there. I would take a little bit of the -5.5. I'd also take the Reds at 1-12. And like I say, we've got money to come because we backed them at the beginning of the season to win the tournament. So I'm all in the Reds camp as well.
Okay, so that's an interesting one. So for a lot of the guys that are sitting in the same position as you, got the Reds to win the season, what do? Brumbies are leading 10-0 at halftime. What are you doing? You're sitting on your bed, you're waiting.
Get your stake back. That's what I always do. That's the best thing. Sometimes I'll hedge it a little bit more if I've got a treble to come. But the old story is, if you break square every day you punt, you've had a great day. So I'll just cover. It's a great saying that. So I'll just cover my stake if things start going a little bit pear-shaped or whatever. But I think the Reds are the business there too.
Okay, so
Gavin, just quickly from my point of view, if it's a pre-season punch, I don't like taking even money or anything like that. But if you got a nice 3-1, or I presume they've probably got about 5-2 there of the Reds at the start of the tournament, then I probably want a little bit more than my stake. So I probably wouldn't take cover at the start. But if the Reds do come out and it's 10-zip, and you all of a sudden you can get 3-1, then I'll probably back it to double. It's just give back probably about 20% of my winnings that I would be getting on the one. So that's just the way I do it in terms of my long terms.
Okay, so yeah, that's an interesting point. And would Stoneman, will go back to you. So you got, what did you get? 5-2? Did you get 3-1, 2-1? What did you get?
I think we got 33-10. I think I got a bit of a stretch there.
Okay, so all right. So well, you're in the money at the moment, as they say in finance. You're in the money. If you back the Brumbies right now, you probably get 16-10. Maybe you'll find 18-10 if you look around. Are you not taking that and closing the game and saying, well, I don't care who wins? Or you want the 33-10, you just want your stake. You want the Reds to be leading 12-0, 14-0, and then you'll take a bit of 7-1 in running and close it out.
100% there. Or I'm not scared of a 9-10 on the plus, and then I can maybe back the Brumbies if they get into double figures on the plus somewhere, I might take that.
Okay, so a last question on that note. So you got your 33-10. Are you still punting this game? Or are you, in your mind, you've already got a punt?
I'm going to speak to my partner tomorrow. We can't let a final go without having some.
No. Just generally, though, how do you feel going into a game where you've already got a pre-existing punt that you took earlier in the season, or maybe a few weeks ago, whatever it is? You're in the money because you can close out, but do you still get involved in that game, or do you say I've already got my bet? And I'll use South Africa as an example in the World Cup a year and a half ago, however long it is ago. I had South Africa to win. Andre Pollard was my biggest punt, was to get the top scorer, and I think I got it from Shane, or one of the guys on this show actually pointed it out. Did a bit of research, climbed into it, but on the day I still took -15 and I still punted South Africa. So I wasn't even satisfied with what I had. So I am interested to know with someone, as I don't take those long-term bets very often, But when I do, I find I still have a bet on the game. I don't just let my bet ride and going into it.
Well, Hein, do you want to go first, or do you want me to respond and then you go? Okay.
You can go.
It totally, with me, it totally depends on my financial situation that week and how I'm looking with the bookies. I'll give you an example. Go back to the previous World Cup when I had bombs to come on New Zealand. And I knew New Zealand were going to win, but I was in a predicament that if they didn't win, I was in a lot of trouble. So I started taking back a little bit. And then just before the game, I actually said to myself, God, what are you doing? You're doubting yourself here. You've backed these Oaks from the beginning of the tournament. You've backed them in every game. They are going to win this thing. And then I had another big punt. So, yeah. So you've got to back yourself. That's what we do with punters. But we also, you've got to watch what you can afford to lose and what you can afford to win, you know. But I'm going to have a bet. I'm definitely going to bet the Reds again. That's me.
It's such a tough thing, though, Gav. I mean, it's like...
It is. I'm also... Sorry, Han. I'm also asking questions that Brent doesn't ask. And I know a lot of punters are going to enjoy these questions.
Yeah.
I'm sure they'll put a comment or two up there. But it is interesting to know how people think when it comes to the money management of it. Because that's really what it's down to. It's money management.
But that's exactly as Stoneman says. It's up to, your position. You might not have a lot of bank left and you're thinking, geez, you can't afford. You've almost... you've made that cardinal sin. You've almost factored in your winnings already, which is always a bit of a bugger up there. Because that someone like Heinrich will just, he'll tell you straight. He doesn't take cover. He doesn't believe in cover. But to me, especially for a long-term punt, it's almost like you've gone over every hurdle, and then for your team to race out to a 10-zip lead in the final, and then you get to work on Monday at the water cooler, and everyone's talking about this magnificent comeback that the bloody Brumbies made. And you just want to vomit in your cup of coffee there, thinking, yeah, I do remember, and I'll remember for the next year. So it's, I remember, Gav, sorry for going off topic, but I had David Warner in the previous World Cup to be the leading run scorer. And they were playing South Africa and that bloody dead rubber, and he got out for 4, and I needed 6 for him to be the top run scorer. I was never as pissed off 6, like he needed 2 more. He needed like just the boundary, and he nicked it to the bloody keeper or slip. I put off the TV. I was pissed. So it's never nice. I think that kind of feeling in punting always plays a part to me. It's just that feeling of losing out, which is bad because you've actually got to be a bit robotic about it and just say, listen, there's no value in covering or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. So I've had the odd argument with my family, and I have a bet that doesn't win, and my wife will say you lost, so I didn't lose. He says, you did. I said, no, I didn't win. And, society teaches us that the opposite of win is lose, but it's not. The opposite of win is not win. And, not winning 10 grand and losing 1,000 are completely different. They're not the same thing. So, you once you understand it like that, you'll get it. But I also want to put one more thing out there with regards to a long-term punt. So you take your long-term punt in the case of Stoneman here. You've taken 33-10 a few weeks ago. Yes, Heinrich said he doesn't want to take cover, but for me, it's the same as buying a share. You buy a share at 100 Rand, right? SAB's 100 Rand. You buy it, goes up to 130. Are you going to not sell it or sell some of it? Or you're going to wait for either the company to go to 500 Rand, or you're going to wait for them to go out of business at 0. You've got to look at it like it's an investment. You've bought the 33-10 today. What are you going to do with it? Yes, you can sit right till the end. Company can go bang. And as with sport, it's very different to finance where the contract length is very short. Well, once the competition's over, it's gone. You can't buy another contract. You can't switch it over to go into the next quarter. There isn't another quarter. Team's out, they're gone. They start again from 0 and off you go. So it is very different. Anyway, let's jump on. We're going to talk about... I think,
Gavin, just the last thing I want to say, the problem that I usually kick myself, because I actually take cover a heck of a lot, even in a normal game that I just take and the team goes up and it's, 6 points ahead, and I just feel there's going to be a last try coming or something. And then, you kick yourself in the end because you feel like you're only going to win, 6 out of 10 bets. And then if you're giving away like some of the profits that you are getting on those that you are winning, then at the end of the day, you're going to be you're going to be going at a loss. So that's the only part that I struggle with sometimes, is the keenness to win. Is I'm ending up giving it as my dad always told me in investing. It's a case of don't water the weeds and prune the roses. I think too many times I'm pruning the roses and I'm just chucking water on some of the weeds.
Yeah, but if you're taking a bet to win 10 grand, are you really going to be upset if you get 8 or 7 at the end? I don't know. I think yes, if you get 1 or 2, but 1 or 2 is better than losing. So it is. And as Stoneman said earlier, it's probably about the way you think about it.
Yeah.
Here we go. Up next, our Oracle's trips on trading cryptocurrency. Very good. All right. Okay, so let's talk about the Sharks and the Lions. I'll start this one off because I watched both games last week. So I had a punt on the Sharks on the board. I didn't even bother with a +3 or whatever was around last week. Yeah, it's 17-0. My wife's calling me. She's going, the Sharks aren't doing very well. I said, I know they're not doing very well, but it's an 80-minute game. Don't worry about it. And then obviously the cards came out and they ended up winning the game. It got a bit scary towards the end, but they won the game. I'm not convinced that the Sharks are as good as I thought they were, because I actually thought they win the game comfortably without the assistance of the new regulations. But this Lions team, they were rubbish. But when I say that, as you said earlier, Han, they defended very well. And it was really the last 20 minutes, or was it just Mornay Steyn? So it could have been Mornay Steyn, could have been the last 20 minutes. But I got to tell you, a double-digit plus, because that's what's going around at the moment. I'm interested in the Lions again. I really am. I think it's too much. I don't think the Sharks are as good as the Bulls. And the Bulls stuffed around. It was, a bit of rustiness. For me, I'm a Lions plus punter. Yeah, I'm not going overboard. I'm not smashing it up with Granny's pension or whatever I've seen earlier. I'm getting back into it. I haven't had a proper rugby punt in a few months, so it's very small for me. But I'm on the Lions plus at double digits. At 7 or 8, I'm in the middle. At -3 or 4, I'm a Sharks punter. Stoney,
Oracle,
you like
would
your
bet
Sharks?
the Lions to beat the All Blacks in Christchurch, you helmet.
I'm wearing my Bafana shirt tonight. I'm not wearing my Lions shirt. I thought I might take a bit of sticker for all my Lions shirt.
Who's going first?
Right, so what do you think?
No, go for it, Stoneman.
Okay. I'm not an emotional punter. I like the Sharks. Obviously, I'm a Durban boy. I actually like all the teams in South Africa except the Stormers. I've got an intense dislike for Western Province rugby. Sorry for all the other people out there. These guys, for I don't know how many years, have always thought that they come from a different part of this country. Okay. From the days of Robbie Fleck and before that. So I like it when the Stormers get pumped. I like it when they get absolutely valved. And but I'll bet with my head and not with my heart. But I still think that the job that Sean Everett's done with these Sharks is better than what a lot of people think. I think they've got a really good environment there, from what I can hear. I'm still buddies with a lot of people in the sporting fraternity and all that, and all the ex-rugby players that I talk to a lot. I was having a lovely chat to Wayne Farvey. He was at Stokers the other night having a chicken, and he's still very involved with it. And he says the setup that they've got there, he says it feels like it did in those 90s. He says he feels that there's something special happening there. Yes, those Sharks were absolutely rubbish for the first 15, 20 minutes, but they couldn't get their hands on the ball. And Stormers were playing that type of rugby that when they do click, it irritates me, but they did look good. I think that if the Sharks sort out their lineouts, I know that Locke scored 3 tries, but he was the one who's supposed to be running the lineouts. The lineouts were a bit of a mess. I think the Sharks is a decent side. I really do. That 15, that fullback that we've got, he would walk into the Springbok side for me at the moment. I don't care what anyone says, that fussy boy. Lions, I won't climb into the Sharks at -7.5 or something like that. I would take maybe the Sharks by 1 to 12, and then I'd take some Lions on the plus. That's what I would do in this game. I agree with Gavin, but I don't see the Lions beating the Sharks. I don't see that. So
I agree with you. I 100% agree with you. I don't think the Lions will win this game. But I do think that, and again, it's just a numbers thing for me. And when I get offered a 10 or a double-digit plus, I start to think it's like something's wrong. It just feels wrong. I don't know. What did you see last week? I didn't see that. I saw a team that it's full of youngsters, full of nobodies. I mean, I barely recognized any of those Lions players on the field. In fact, I saw them playing for other teams.
Well, just quickly there, Gav, can I just say, also that the Lions are also suffering from a few injuries. They've got 4 changes this week, and they're all injury made. So I think maybe, after this game, they might get a few players back there. I think there's 2 guys that are back on the bench for them. I forget exactly what the names are. So that's probably not helping their cause at the moment.
Still double digits, though. Just mathematically, just sounds too big. That's all.
Yeah.
I think the good thing for the Lions is Steve Setoli and Carlos Sardi starting at prop. I mean, those are 2 solid props. I think Setoli was probably one of the finds of the season in some of these earlier competitions. I really rate him. I think he's come along nicely. It's better than having Yanni around there. He's nice off the field and he's a great oak, but I don't think he's got it on the park that much anymore. So to me, that's the future for the Lions, and I think that is the big thing for them is they're really building the future. But I mean, you need a little bit of solidness in between, and to me, that's the Bulls are kind of getting that right. They're getting some experience in there, and the Lions really, the guys that they've got on board is kind of the discarded oaks from elsewhere. I mean, people have talked about Evie Verdun and his class, and I've never seen it. To me, he's way overrated. Fred Zeilinger Yeah, he's Fred Zeilinger is a bit of a traveling gypsy there. So I don't know. It's a bit of a mismatch. I know it worked in Akash's day, but I don't think it's necessarily going to work again, and not against these big squads that the Bulls and the Sharks are starting to build. So I don't know. The Lions, to me, long term are in a heck of a lot of trouble, but short term, I thought they scrapped really nicely against the Bulls. I think it was a muck game there for like probably 50 minutes, and maybe it suited the Lions to just claw their way to that nonsense. But the Sharks haven't put a team away in a long time as well. So they've got the players, but they just struggle to really put the boot in. I mean, Fassi, as you guys have said, they can cut them to shreds. Cohen Bosch again, I saw this weekend when he looks up and he just floats through that gap. It's fantastic. But they just don't finish enough to really warrant that. Obviously, Oxenchair and Thomas, a great pack again to have there. Renil Yichu, as Stoneman says, I mean, he's not there to score 3 tries. He should be doing his work in the line-out. To me, he's not the best purchase in any case, against Schikkeling and those kind of guys.
Both of you had made mention to it. I just want to cut in, sorry. So the Oak scores 3 tries and he's a villain because he didn't do his job properly.
If I was on him to score 2 or more tries, I would have loved the bloke. But otherwise, it's like. But he's a Marty's man, so I mean, I know him quite well. But to me, he's not the business quite yet.
Stoneman going through his notes, ready for the next game.
So I'll just say Lions on the plus. I'm with you, Gavin. I just think double digits, you can't really go there. And especially I'd keep a little bit of in running as well. If the Sharks get one early, the Lions to just hang in there, because I just don't see them, putting 30 past the line. So to me, it's just a plus. I don't have any exotics on the Rainbow Cup. So that's it for me.
Okay, so just on that note, the in running part, I'm going to tell you right now, this game, Stormers versus Bulls, I'm sorry. The Stormers were fantastic in those first few minutes, but that could have been a couple of things. That could have been the Sharks just, sleeping. I saw some decent plays by the Stormers. In fact, I was very impressed with them for those first few minutes. But after the Cards, they were disarrayed. They didn't know what they were doing. They didn't manage their bench properly. But when it comes to the Bulls, I think the Bulls started off slowly. They weren't as fast as the Sharks were. But when Morné Steyn came on, that game was completely different. I've always been a Morné Steyn fan. I've loved the guy, especially when he's played for South Africa. So I'm going to tell you, Stormers Bulls, I'm going to watch. And when Morné Steyn comes on the field, whatever the price is, whatever the handicap is, I'm getting on at that point.
Because Gavin, just for the record, then you have to put your bet. You have to put your bet down now because he's starting.
He's starting.
Oh my God! All right, fair enough. Then I'm going to jump on at the start, and as soon as he goes off, I'm going the other way. That's what I'm doing with this game. Okay, I didn't realize that he was on this. Why? Okay, so that's a good question. Why is he starting? What's going on there?
All right, you want to go?
Why wasn't he starting, or why is he starting this week?
Why is he starting? There was nothing wrong with the other guy. I can't even remember his name. The kicker was fine. I mean, he missed a couple, but he was okay.
Gavin, there's a difference between being fine and being Mornay Steyn playing against I don't even know who's going to play.
Hold on. But let's go back to that. If I'm the coach of the Bulls, and I know it's Jake White, and you can argue with me, but I don't think he won us the World Cup in 2007. The Australian won us the World Cup. But anyway, well, that's a discussion for another day. If I'm Jake White, I'm looking at this Mornay Steyn thinking, I can't put this on for 80 minutes or 60 minutes. Probably doesn't have 60 minutes. He's like 11 years younger than me, and I'm 50. I mean, he's finished. He can probably play only 26 minutes of a game. So put him on the last 26 minutes. Why put him on the first 26 minutes? Doesn't make sense. So, in fact, never mind when he goes off. 26 minutes into the game, I'm going the other way.
Gavin, if you think about it, often why they start with a guy who isn't going to go so long is then you know exactly how long he's going to go. If you only put him on for 20, he could have gone for 30 maybe. But if you start him, then if he conks in after 35, then you got your 35. So I think that's usually just the way they go with the guys. I think Mornay was always going to go back and start. And in honesty, Chris Smith he isn't at that level yet. He's still probably a Varsity Cup fly-off, and in my books he's got a lot to learn. And as I said, it depends on what the Stormers are going to do. I haven't seen a Stormers team yet, but I know obviously Voliter is out, so I think Damian Willemse will probably move to 10. So that's going to be really something to watch, because you're going to have the flashiness of Damian Willemse and obviously the pace. He can get around Mornay, but then you've got the steadiness of Mornay. And to me, I'm sorry, every day of the week I'm backing Mr. Steady Eddie there. So I'm backing the Bulls in this one. To me, it's a coin toss, and the Bulls are slightly better price. I don't know if it's still the same, 11 to 10 or 12 to 10. Probably a little bit better than the coin toss. Actually, it's just Christoph and Malherbe that have you going to the Stormers. But to me, I would have liked Trevor starting.
I'm completely puzzled that the Bulls are plus team here, or have a bigger than even money price. I think that's, we're going to talk about best bets later, but that's got to be my best bet of the weekend. I just can't believe that the Bulls are not the minus team here. I don't know what everybody watched last week. They watched 15 minutes of Stormers. The cards came. In fact, I'm over cards this weekend, whatever that number is. I think the Stormers can continue their card count. They'll be leading at the end of the tournament. I can't have the Stormers. I don't hate them as much as Stoneman over here, because I did live in Cape Town for 5 years. But I do dislike them. I've never lived in Pretoria. I was in the army there for 3 months back in the 80s. I'm a Mornay Steyn fan. I'm so happy he's back. I'm loving his rugby. I'm all over the Bulls this weekend. Sorry, I did cut you short. Carry on there.
Me too.
No problem.
Okay.
Right.
Fair enough. Hashtag me too. There we go.
Okay. Stormers, Bulls. Obviously, I can't let my emotion get in the way here.
Correct. No emotion.
No emotion. Fuck the Stormers. Sorry, I didn't say that live. Sorry.
It's all right. Hard beat you to it in the first minute of the show. He was swearing.
Sinatla being banned. He's getting replaced by Sergil Peterson. It's also Sevens player. That's going to be a loss to the Stormers. I don't care what the coach says. It's a good replacement. That is a loss to them. They've got that pace outside. Schickerling's got an injury doubt, and he's an out-and-out one of the top locks in the country. So that's a problem for them. But what we haven't spoken about yet is that the general's back. Dwayne is back now for the Bulls. He's not going to play the whole game because, sorry, they want to watch him. But he's back. They put Mornay Steyn back there. I'm not the biggest Mornay Steyn fan in the world, not like you guys. But I've got respect for the fact that the Oak controls the game. He controls the game. He'll slow it down. He won't let us that Sharks panic when they start running the ball around. He'll kick when it's the right time to kick. He'll move the ball around. I think Mornay's back starting at 10. Dwayne back there as captaining the side now. Stormers no price. I also thought that I can see why they favourites because they're at home and that type of stuff. But for me, the Bulls.
Hold on. Sorry, Stoneman. Are they really at home? They're playing in a stadium that barely is any good on TV. I mean, the TV camera's got that completely wrong, that big shadow. It was an absolute joke. The Stormers didn't look like they were at home. They really didn't. They needed Newlands last week.
Yeah, well, the whole COVID thing, the whole time, I mean, how every single game you look at now, there isn't a home and away, but there is. You say that in football. You watch the football game. You've got automated screaming and shouts, it's still home ground. You know what I'm trying to say? So, I thought before I did this and looked at the pricing, I thought the Stormers would be 1 or 2 point favourites, and I was always going to back the Bulls. Don't bring that I didn't like the Stormers. So for me, that this is an aimer for me. This Bulls team, I think this Bulls team could get busy with the Stormers side. I really do.
Okay, so Sean saying Stormers discipline will cost them. I agree. Do you guys think that we will see more cards on the Stormers side, or do you think they've learnt their lesson after last week?
Yeah, I think, with all honesty, I don't think Paul Dobson could coach his bottom to have a poo. But I really do. I was listening to Nick Mallett and Swayze de Bruin on TV the other day, and they were saying exactly the same thing, that those Stormers, the discipline's going to cost them. And I think it will again.
Luckily for the Stormers, they aren't coached by Paul Dobson, but John Dobson. But
I mean, just... John Dobson. Sorry. You know what I mean?
Oh, man.
He got six of the last characters right. DOBSON.
No, but there is a but no. Any case, just on the cards, I have to say, it wasn't that big a thing. I mean, Sinatla just went under. Okay, it happens. It happens to anyone. Obviously, Sinatla isn't used to so many guys on the field, so he got confused a little bit. Went under the oak. They don't do high balls in 7. So I mean, it's going to happen to the bloke. And I mean, Willie Engelbrecht. I mean, the poor bugger was playing his first game for the Stormers. Came from the Pumas. Jimmy Stonehouse kicks your ass if you don't hit the guy hard. He tried to hit the guy hard twice and he got sent off twice. So, I mean, it's obviously that was a little bit of technique, but I don't think it's anything major there on the Stormers part. I think they're more, they lackluster when they start to lose it a little bit. So I don't think it's such a major ill discipline in terms of cards factor.
Okay, so we're done. So you like the Bulls as well, Han? Stoneman, myself, we all on the Bulls. Okay, good. Right, let's move on. Pro 14. I have not looked at any of these matches. As one game gone, obviously. I don't understand why we're being linked in the same thing as this. There's no final. There's no cross conferences. I'm hoping to eventually go down to Kings Park when the likes of Glasgow's and Leinster's and Munster's come down to Durban, and even the odd Zebra game. I'm really interested to see some new rugby when we're allowed back in the stadium and whatever. But honestly, I've not felt anything about these teams. I know I had a few Pro 14 punts in the past, so I don't know if you guys have got anything to say about any of these games. You don't have to talk about all of them, but if there's one game in particular or two that you like, let us know. Nothing.
Well, I'll go quickly, Han. I looked at a couple of games just quickly there. I'll run through them very quickly. The first one that I had a look at there, just from the fact it was Connacht playing Leinster, and I love numbers and I love stats and I was a big Leinster fan punter my whole life, being backing them. I vomited last week. I think we all did. I was upset about that game too because I'd watched La Rochelle the build up to this thing, and La Rochelle really, really impressed me. There was a game a couple of weeks against the Chiefs, Exeter Chiefs, and La Rochelle in the first 15 minutes looked like I've never seen rugby play like that. So I'm kicking myself that I never took a bit of cover on Leinster. On La Rochelle last week. But Leinster, I don't see them winning 3 games in a row, so they'll be back for this game. I wouldn't take a big bet on this one. I'd probably take a little bit of Leinster on the outright and Connacht on the handicap. The only reason I'm saying that is that I don't see Leinster losing 4 games in a row. I know they put on a Dirt Trackers team a little while ago, so that jumped out at me as a possible bet. The other one that I also looked at was the Scarlets versus the Ospreys. The Scarlets the week before were absolutely flying against the Dragons. I think they were up 22-10, and then they just went to total sleep in the second half. It
was an 84-pointer that, Husky.
They got beat 52-32, and they ended up beating 22-10
points.
Yeah. So I think that they would have caught a wake up from that thing. I just looked at that game, and they back playing at home. Gavin says no home advantage. I still think there is. So I saw a little bit of the Scarlets in the outright there, 6-10, and some value for me to throw into a multiple. And then the one game that jumped out at me in the French league. I know you guys don't do a lot of French. I used to punt a lot of.
No, go for it. That's what this is all about. Go for it.
And And I like watching the South Africans in the league over there. And this James Hall kid, this Kersney boy, the scrum half, he really is impressing me as a rugby player. I think if he got a short stint with the Sharks and they pushed him down to the Kings and he got muscled out of there. The Oak is a quality good rugby player. He played for Stade Francais. They were super impressive last week. They beat Racing Metro at Racing. And all those people that know me, the Stig, he's out there, and I chat to him about betting. In France, I always back the home team. So for Stade to go last week and beat Racing at Racing, they're playing Brive now. It's a mid-table clash. If you look at points scored, Stade has scored 100 more points so far on the log already than Brive. And you can get Stade on the plus. The French teams at home are always favourites. So if you want to throw around some stuff there, I think you can get a little bit of Stade Francais on the plus, and don't be surprised if they beat Brive. And then one more game quickly, then I'll hand over to...
Sounds like I got the wrong favourite there as well.
No, I wouldn't say it's the wrong favourite. No, in France, the home team's always a favourite. Doesn't matter if Toulouse are playing bloody Section Po, and Section Po are 22nd in the log, they're at home, Section Po will be favourites. It's a joke there in France. It's an absolute joke. The home team is unbelievable. And then the quick one is, like Heinz says, he's looking for his banker for the Friday night to run us into the weekend. Sale Sharks are playing Leicester tomorrow night. The Sale are chasing the playoff places there. Fuff, the little pony, show pony's back for us. You want to call it almost another Sharks team. There's an old Sharks front row there. I like looking at stats. And Leicester have won myself and the Stig some money lately. But Leicester are resting some players. Sale, last 5 games against Sale have won the last 5 league games. The last time that Leicester Tigers won at Salford was in 2013. So you just look at the stats and the numbers. I think Sale have got Leicester's number tomorrow night. Big time. Well, that's the Sharks' second side.
It's a minus 14 though. What is that? Minus 13. What is that handicap?
Is it that much? I thought it was minus 9.
14.5 now, I think.
Yeah. So you're just including that in a multiple, or you're going they'll win by more than 14?
Well, no, then I would be nervous about that. That those, as a minus punter, those big handicaps like that scare me. What I'd do then, I'd hope that hell that Leicester score first and then go in running on Sale. How does that sound?
Okay. Hein, anything on this European rugby? I'll call it that for lack of a better word.
No, Gavin, I think if I had to follow all the rugby, I'd have no life at all. I still have Formula 1 this weekend, NRL rugby, and then there's some Giro d'Italia cycling starting. So it's, I've got other things keeping me busy.
All right, best bet time. I see Brent's given me an order here, so I'm just clicking them one after another. Right, best bet time. So I'll start off. I'm going to tell you, if you have one bet this weekend, back the Bulls, and when Mornay Steyn goes off the field, close your bet out, go the other way, or just take your stake back, because that's when it's not going to go your way. All right, best bet from Hein.
Yeah, I'm sticking to my double. Reds and Crusaders. It's a red team to do the business on Saturday for me. I'm not going to stress about any handicaps, anything. To me, that's my big play. I talked about the banker, but I don't have a lot of other bets going around. Maybe a few into the NRL, but otherwise, it's just that big double for me. So it's nice and simple. I just worry about those two, and by lunchtime on Saturday, I'm going to know which way it went.
There you go, Steyn. Johan saying Crusaders, Reds, Sale, and Leinster. Quad. You got to put the Bulls in there. It's got to be a quintuple.
I said Sale, Reds by 1 to 12. I just put them all down there. Crusaders outright, Sharks by 1 to 12, Bulls on the minus now. You can get them on the minus now. It's saying outright, but they plus 1.5. Take them to minus 1.5. I think that's a nice bet. You'll get 11 to 10 or 12 to 10. Leinster outright, and then start on the plus. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
6.
There's a 7 there. They call
7,
it,
right.
Horse racing, you call that a Canadian, I think.
I think they call it a
PA. Straight line PA.
Straight line PA, that's right. I had one of those. I missed by one. Horse came fourth. It didn't have a shoe on. It's the one I left out. I've never had a straight line PA since. Anyway, so, all right. So just to go back to your comment there, I see it's 54 minutes. I'll close out in an hour. So we've got 5 minutes left. Ryan, other than rugby, you're talking about Formula One. What else can the guys look out for a punt to throw into a multiple if they want, or something else to watch on TV? What other sport are you interested in this weekend?
Yeah, it's the Barcelona Grand Prix, but obviously it's a bit tough at the moment, which is actually good for the watch. It's between Hamilton and Vettel, Hamilton and Verstappen there, so it's pick a winner. It's really tough to call, and everyone says it's course form to Hamilton, so I don't think there's much to punt on that. And as well, Formula One to me, it hasn't got as many market options as some of the others, so I usually just enjoy a watch, or I take like a triple, the guy to get fastest lap pole and the win. To me, it'll probably, so I'll just take a watching brief there. I'm taking a few long terms on the Giro. I like a couple of top tens, which I'll have on the site, so the guys can just go have a look there. A couple of King of the Mountain ones. So it's
You've just reminded me. I've got to put the good for the game little logo up. Forgot about that. Sorry, Brent. I was a bit late there.
There we go. So it's all there, and a couple of cracker games tomorrow in the NRL. So everyone should go check that out. It's always a good watch. ESPN broadcast one of them now on a day, so it's a little bit more accessible. So it's good watching.
All right, Stone. Anything else other than rugby that you might be interested in this weekend?
Well, Gav and Hein, you know me how much I love the horses, but. Yeah, I haven't. Nothing's jumped out at me or screamed out at me about the new season. I must admit, I know it's the season's moved to Durban, and that gravel poly track. I'd rather gargle glass than sometimes have a punt on some of those things. I mean, the results there are just a fucking joke. So yeah, I look for racing and driving and that. Nothing. I haven't heard about any aimers for the weekend or anything like that, except that Paris might go home alone again tomorrow night. But besides that, no, this has been great. Thanks very much for having me on the show. It's been
it's a pleasure. I'm sure. I'm pretty sure I won't be hosting next week. So yeah, it's very possible Brent may pull you back in. Yeah, you were very informative. I'm very impressed. Look, I've known you personally for quite a while now, and for those who don't know, the little background picture there is Stokers. There's a little train there, and there's a little table on the left of where Hein's picture is on the screen. I love sitting there out in the sun. It's a wonderful place. You'll find Stoneman there, and every Saturday there's rugby and soccer and horse racing. Absolutely, always horse racing on TV at his pub. Anyway, for me, I was quite surprised to see the RPL. Well, I wasn't surprised they finally switched it off because of the COVID thing. I was very surprised that they went as far as they did. I watched a couple of games. It was quite interesting, but yeah, not as good as it has been in the past. The Formula One, I'm very interested in this new law thing. And to go back to what Hein said, there aren't that many betting opportunities. What I used to do with Formula One is try and find a match bet. One driver to beat another. Stick away from the top five. Go and look for some value in 8th beating 9th or 9th beating 11th or vice versa. That's the kind of thing that I've looked out for. With regards to soccer, I know the game's on at the moment. Behind me here, and I know that last week we had a son of a punt with his Arsenal shirt. I'm hoping Arsenal win tonight, and I'm hoping it's an all England. Enjoy the rugby. I'm glad to be back, and I'm sure Brent will have me on the show a few times. And thanks very much for watching, everybody. Don't forget to go to goodforthegame.co.za and read all of the posts. Go to the forum. I know Brent says this whole thing a lot better than me, but anyway, thanks very much, everybody, for your comments and for watching. And yeah, enjoy the weekend and have a great punting weekend. Cheers, everyone.
Cheers, boys. Put.